Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of Flirtations. Signing on here at Flirt Headquarters, my name is Benjamin. I'm the Flirt Coach. The conversation I have for you today with Dr. Jennifer Wolkin. Dr. Wolkin is a neuropsychologist, and we're going to be talking about some anxiety, some stress, overthinking, and perfectionism in dating, a little bit of trauma for good measure, and some neurodivergence. Why the heck not? Stay tuned to see how all of these topics are blended together in a beautiful, really cool way. Yes, and I think you're going to have some amazing new insights and takeaways from the conversation. But before we get there, thank you so much, y'all, for being here, for being a part of these conversations. I really enjoy creating them for you. All of your support means the world to me. Taking in these conversations wherever you are in the world. I appreciate your downloads, your streams and listens, your shares, just comments, ratings, all the things. Thank you so much for supporting the show. All right, now let's get into the full conversation with Dr. Jennifer Wolkin. Coming up on this episode of Flirtations, we're talking anxiety, overthinking, and perfectionism in dating. You know that feeling when you replay every text, second guess what you said on a date, or try so hard to show up as your best self that you forget to just be yourself? Lord knows I have. Joining us for this conversation is Dr. Jennifer Wolkin. Dr. Wolkin is a neuropsychologist, writer, and ADHD advocate, here to help us make peace with our brains, understand ourselves a little bit more, and why we overthink, which I just did. Inside the episode, we'll hear about what happens in the brain when we're overthinking, how perfectionism can sabotage connection, and where dating anxiety really comes from. Dr. Wolkin shares simple practices for grounding yourself before a date, how we can reframe perfectionism and worry and build self-compassion along the way. This one is all about the neuroscience behind our emotions in dating and how we can say, hold up, when our anxiety and overthinking wants to run the show. All right, flirties, let's take a deep breath, let go of the what ifs, and meet Dr. Jen.
I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. Hello, my name is Benjamin. I'm the Flirt Coach and a gay Libra. Everyone has an inner flirt.
Hey, flirty.
Live, laugh, flirt.
Work the flirt.
Work the flirt. Delulu is the Salulu. Expert on the flirt.
Hey, flirty. There's always another flirt.
Everyone has an inner flirt. Get out of your head and into the flirt.
Flirties, on the show today, we welcome Dr. Jennifer Wolkin. Dr. Wolkin is a neuropsychologist, writer, professor, and ADHD advocate, here today to have a conversation with us about anxiety, overthinking, and perfectionism in dating. Hi, Dr. Wolkin, and welcome to the show.
Hi, call me Jen. Thank you. So grateful that I'm here.
All right, I will call you Jen. Formal for the intro.
Exactly.
And then we'll get a little bit more casual for the conversation. How you doing today?
I'm good. I love this. Let's flirt.
Let's do it. I'm excited for this collaboration. I've been following your pages on Instagram for a little while, really dedicated to ADHD and trauma therapy and recovery, and excited to have a conversation all about the overthinking, right? The perfectionism, those thought loops we can get stuck in, which I know all daters, including myself, experience.
Right. I was going to say, I mean, can there be a better can there be a better overlap overthinking and dating? I don't think so.
It's if there's one place we're going to overthink, it's probably in dating.
Yes. And we'll get into it.
Yeah. So I want to get to know you a little bit more at the top, and a part of your story. I've been reading some of your articles on brain curves for a while. So just how you got started in this work.
Okay, you sure you want me to answer this?
I'm 100% sure. You can give me the long version, the short version.
Okay,
I always say
I'm gonna ramble because I
love
so
details.
Passionate. I get very passionate about this.
Let's go, Dr. Jen. Let's do it.
So I didn't really set out to be a neuropsychologist. I actually started as an English major. I was like, I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to be a poet. And I didn't even know I had ADHD yet. I was just like, I can't finish these books in this comp-lit major. And I guess I'm failing, right? Becoming the artist I dreamed of. And I was like, okay, let me pivot to psychology. And I excelled. I realized this wasn't only something I could do, but it was like a real passion. And for anyone new to it, so neuropsych studies how the brain maps onto behavior, memory, attention, language, emotions, problem solving, and uses assessments to understand real life impacts.
Okay.
And I was just mesmerized by the brain. So I made this switch from English to psychology. And again, excelled and was like, oh, I can also be of service. And during my PhD, which was behavioral medicine and health psychology, so more aligned with mind, body, brain, and there was a neuropsych track. I just fell in love with the brain.
Yeah.
I had two formative experiences, and thanks for letting me say it because, like I said, I get so passionate about it.
I love hearing about people's passions. I mean, this is a skill that translates into flirting as well, into your dating lives and relationships.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the first experience was dissecting a brain.
Like an actual real?
Actual brain.
Oh, dear. Okay, not just figurative, or not just literally. You mean figuratively. Or no, not figuratively. Actually, literally. Yes. Okay, we got there.
And I was just like in awe. I was like this shiny mound of being. I was like literally like, who was this human? What were their desires and who they connect with and what they study, what they love, what were they passionate about, how they flirt.
Yeah.
And I'm getting the chills as I'm speaking about this. And I was just like, oh, maybe this is poetry. Maybe I didn't lose that. And then the second was actually I scrubbed into intraoperative neuropsych testing. So what they do is, some neuropsychologists go into like brain surgery and they wake the patient up and they ding on the brain specific areas.
Okay.
And the patient, responds. They name objects or moves a hand on command, right?
Yeah.
So the surgeon could avoid what we call in the field eloquent matter, the matter that's responsible for language and motor, movement. Okay. And just seeing the literal dialogue between brain and behavior was just, oh my gosh. And then I did a 2-year neuropsychology postdoc. Okay. And I wasn't like anyone else. I was like the poet in the postdoc. And it was at Harvard. So it was very academic. And I was like, I'm going to put the psychology into neuropsychology. And I'm also going to put the poetry into it. And so between grand rounds and lectures and all the things, I literally would write poems about Wernicke's aphasia. And I'd write essays on phrenology's troubled history and its place in the field of neuropsych. And I called it neuropoetry. And then my mentor asked me a few years after my fellowship, my postdoc, so do you want to get board certified in clinical neuropsychology? And I'm like, do I need to? Yeah. And he's like, I mean, you won't be any more or less respected, but there are barriers to who you can test or not without it. So you can't test the cognition of pilots without it. I'm like, okay, thanks. Yeah, I'm going to go get an MFA in poetry. Yeah. And that's what I did. So anyway, all that to say, and I don't want to lose this part, is that I guess underneath all of it also was a call to be of service. And as I'm sure so many of your guests have said, and I've listened to it, it was also something that hit close to home, right? I've lived through OCD, like anxiety, and PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And, I did seek therapy in the 90s and early 2000s. And I feel like care was what it is today. Okay. And the experience humbled me. And I'm like, I want to show up in a way that's more robust and to help people make sense of their minds, right? With precision, compassion, and, safety. And that's long story long. That's correct.
Well, thank you for sharing more about yourself and how you got started with this and some of your passions, some of your interests. I feel like if I were in your shoes looking at a literal brain, I also would have had the same experience. Like, what was this person's desires? What were their dreams? Like, what were their flirts like, right? What were their relationships like? Like, this was a whole, like, this was the motherboard, like the computer for a whole human
literally
being. Yes.
the motherboard.
Yes. There's a whole lifetime of
Exactly.
memories in there.
We take it so for granted.
I know.
And it's
I know.
like, literally, it's like what makes us human. It separates us, right? Our cortex is what separates us from all other mammals out there and allows us to love and have relationships in the way that we can.
Yeah.
And of course, that's both blessing and curse.
Yeah.
not curse, but that's, fabulous. And also it can lead to anxiety.
Some interesting experiences.
Some interesting experiences.
So I want to ask you now, because one of the big themes I get from your content is this just kind of, self-compassion, but that making peace with our brains, right? Just making peace with how we think and how we move about the world. Because I've also had this experience as someone more neurodivergent, ADHD, where like I did a lot of the traditional stuff and would get the diagnoses, and they may have been correct, but they were partial, right? It wasn't the whole story. It wasn't painting the whole picture. And so I just want to hear a little bit more about your experience of feeling like, is there something wrong with me? Why isn't XYZ thing working? I'm trying to fit in, yet I feel different. Right. And so just what was that like?
I mean, that was my experience, right?
Yeah, mine too.
Also, right. I think we can relate. You've talked about it so vulnerably and openly on the podcast. And I'm so appreciative because I feel like speaking about it helps destigmatize. And
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. And the more we talk, the more people, ideally feel less broken and less ashamed. And I just had this feeling of like something's wrong, something's different. And for my own personal experience, I was getting good grades. So people were, the teachers, not throwing them under the bus at all. It's not their jobs. They're my heroes. They, I guess, didn't really know what to do with me. I would blurt out the answers and I would pass notes and take bathroom breaks, other things, emotional dysregulation and just this overall general sense of something's not the same. I'm different.
Yeah.
And I feel like for people, that's like in their formative years, that's profound, right?
Definitely.
That's a lot to bear. That's a lot to hold. This like felt sense of I'm different. I don't know what that means. I don't know why. I'm like quasi belonging, but not really. I feel like that's formative. And so I began this journey to help people embrace their differences as not broken, but beautiful.
Yes.
And, I actually talked a lot about the fact that what if we lived in a world where there was no elite neurotype? Would we still be neurodivergent? And I got a lot of flack for that because people were saying, well, you would still be late and you would still this and you would still need planners. Like they were talking about their own experience as well. And I was like, yes, I hear you. I don't want to minimize your struggle. And also, would it be a struggle if like we didn't have to be at a 9 to 5 and we could create the life that worked with the rhythm of our brain versus a life that was sort of scripted for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I can relate to a lot of that. I mean, that's one of the reasons I had to leave my 9 to 5, right? I had to leave the office. It's just like that lifestyle that you have to, the hours, none of it was working for me. And even though I would say I'm working harder now than I ever have before, I traded the fluorescent lights of an office for the fluorescent lights of a grocery store. That wasn't expected or planned, but it happened and I'm there and I'm happy to be there. Surprise. It's about designing and creating this life that just works with me and the brain that I have. Yeah.
And that's, I just got the chills. That's the self-compassion part. And I'm really proud of you, right? Because I think without that self-compassion, you would have stayed in a situation that wasn't serving you.
Definitely.
So you realized, no, like I want more and I can have more. It just takes a little bit more effort to figure out how to create that for myself.
Yeah, we talk about a lot about that feeling of alignment in dating relationships, just in life. Like I just knew it wasn't like I disliked the work or the job or had like bad coworkers or bad bosses. None of that was true. So it was difficult. It was like, wait, like I'm making a decent income. I work all the my way up to the office with the window. I've got a great boss, right? Like, why am I not happy? Why do I not like this? What's wrong? Like with me kind of thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't in alignment. It was that constant friction, right? Everything was just so difficult, lacking that passion, that drive, that purpose, which was so different for me because I've always been a pretty self-motivated person, right? I have my niche interests and hobbies, very all or nothing, right? You can tell by the podcast. I'm putting out now 3 episodes a week. Like I missed having that, just like that feeling. Yeah.
I love how you put that alignment and, aligned and unaligned. And I know you just had Britt Frank on. She's oh my God,
amazing.
So wonderful. And that book is wonderful. And she talks about alignment as well.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised. And it's actually sad. And it's a privilege to be able to shift gears, right?
Yeah.
Because there are people who just stay in the status quo for multitudes of reasons. I'm not saying privilege in certain ways. Right. I'm just saying a lot of people just sit in that status quo and there's this underneath dysphoria or like just disalignment and just general discontentedness. And you'd be surprised how often I, see people in that space and they come to me like, I am in my 70s and but here's the thing, it's never too late, right?
Oh yeah. It's never, I'm a big believer in that. It's never too late to make a change. Like a change starts with just a single moment, a single breath, one decision. Let's get into, some of the neuroscience now, as we've been talking a lot about our careers. But there are certainly, it all matters. There's parallels to dating. I think a lot of the flirties and everyone listening will have these experiences in dating of feeling like they're not in alignment, of feeling like there's that friction, of feeling like they're overthinking everything. And so I'm curious, now transitioning the conversation to dating, what happens in the brain when we are overthinking? What's going on up there?
So here's the thing. It's not a short answer. So you're asking a neuropsychologist.
Give it to me, Jen. I'm so ready.
Okay. Before we dive into where does overthinking come from? How does it, develop in the brain? What sets it off? I think I want to zoom out just a little bit. Because overthinking is really part of our brain's larger threat system. And dating, of course, triggers that system constantly because dating is full of uncertainty. But so let's zoom out and talk about our larger threat system, and then we'll put back overthinking in context.
Okay.
So here's the chain. We have a fear mechanism, right? This is fear is the most basic alarm that we can have. It's sharp, it's immediate, it's, there's a lion in the bush, I see it. The amygdala just fires. And the amygdala is the emotional seat of the brain, and it reacts to clear and present danger. It's like here, right? And then our body goes into fight or flight. And once the threat passes, the fear ends. It's kind of like, boop. It's like an alarm. Oh, and the lion left. It's no longer in the bush. Anxiety is different. That happens when danger isn't necessarily clear. It's like the lion isn't there, but maybe it is. I need to scan for it. And so what areas of the brain are used for that is also the amygdala, but I like to nerd out sometimes, and there's what we call this extended amygdala. It's like a different part of the amygdala system. It's called the BNST, and I forget now. I'm just like, I should have looked this up. It's like bed nucleus, something, whatever. But it's
you had me at bed nucleus, Jen. I believe you. Giving the amygdala the moment it deserves on Flirtations, to be honest.
You are amazing. I mean, hello. Yeah.
We've all got one. It's in that
We've
literal
all
brain.
got it. We've all got it.
It's there.
We've all got more than we think, though, right? We have this fear response amygdala, and then this anxiety amygdala adjacent part. It's called the BNST.
Okay.
And what that does is that screens for the lion that might be in the bushes, right? So it keeps us on edge when threats are unpredictable or ambiguous. And if this isn't dating, I don't know what is. In dating, this looks like waiting for a text that doesn't come, not knowing how a date went, right? Wondering if someone's tone meant disinterest, the ambiguity
all of it
itself, blah, blah, blah. But then stress. We have to talk about stress. So stress is the body's load. So we have fear, we have anxiety, and then stress. Stress is the body's load. It's how all of that manifests in the body. It's our racing heart. It's our tight chest. It's our shallow breathing. It's our stress response. And what happens is the more and more that we are stressed, the threshold is lowered and we are primed so that even something small, like a small pause or an ambiguous glance can feel like a big threat. So we have that. We have fear, we have anxiety, we have stress, and now we have worry.
Okay.
And worry is anxiety translated into words. And this is where the prefrontal cortex comes in. Wow. The paradoxical prefrontal cortex that's, involved in the what if thinking, right? I need to find out what's going on in order to explain this alarm. And also it's responsible for putting the brakes on.
Yeah.
And so it just becomes this endless cycle. So here's where overthinking comes in. And tell me if I'm making this sound clear enough, because
this is really, really helpful because you're giving words to all the different experiences that we're going to have when we do experience overthinking, where it's like anxiety. So we've got like fear, which is maybe the emotion running the show, so to speak, which can manifest as overthinking. And then you have anxiety that gets embodied as stress, which then turns into worry. And so now I can start to see how like the roller coaster of emotions and dating happens, where you feel like you can't get off. It's because you probably get stuck in these loops and these cycles, and all of these emotions get embodied. It's like that experience you were sharing where someone looks at you weird, or their tone was off, or like there's a slight subtle shift in energy. And now you go to like the what if, like the worst case scenario. This helps explain why.
Yeah. And fear is that basic response. That's almost like if someone's like arguing with you, right? It gets on and off. Anxiety is the engine for worry and overthinking mostly, because it's predictive. It's an uncertainty. Fear is like, here's the threat and now it's gone. And anxiety is what really drives worry and overthinking and the loops, and I'll get to those. And stress is just how fear and anxiety can manifest in the body and become embodied. So worry is anxiety translated into words, I like to say. And we often use the terms interchangeably, but I think it's important to, be precise. And the prefrontal cortex starts spinning, right? Because remember, the BNST, amygdala-like structure is like, alarm.
Yes.
And then in order to explain what's going on, our prefrontal cortex is like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What if I said too much? What if they're not interested? What if they're texting someone else? And worry branches into two control strategies.
Okay, this is very interesting. I'm so glad you're going here, because all of this, in many ways, is the seeking of control.
Absolutely, but more so like control, and not in a like pathological, derogatory. People like to say you're so controlling. It's literal safety.
Yeah,
right. Like our brain is seeking safety, and we often don't think about that. People throw around these terms with dating, or you're so needy and you're so this and you're so that, and I'm like, your brain is looking for certainty.
Yeah.
And so these two branches are overthinking,
Okay.
which is like worry replayed. So that has to do with past and future loops. And perfectionism, I like to say, is like worry as armor. Like, how can I control the present? And how can I do things flawlessly so that I can feel better?
Okay.
And so fear is danger now. Fear is danger now. Anxiety is danger maybe. Stress is how the body feels that load. Worry is its voice.
Okay.
And then from there, we have two strategies, right? Overthinking, replaying, or predicting, and or perfectionism, which is just armoring up so we look flawless. And, I'm happy to now that we did this overview, I think a lot of things will kind of fit and make sense. So when the brain is overthinking, when we're overthinking, we're not being irrational. Okay. The brain wants certainty.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting how this might happen in dating, where I'm thinking about, right, the two kind of classic attachment styles of anxious and avoidant, right? They're both somewhat coming from this place of fear, looking to control the situation, just to provide some certainty, just to bring some safety to an uncertain situation. Because like you said, dating is going to it's uncertain at times. It can be unpredictable. We're dealing with other people who have entire lived experiences, their own thoughts, feelings, emotions, their own intentions, which aren't always revealed honestly and transparently up front, right? I've always said a lot of dating happens in the gray. It's not always black and white. It's pretty nuanced a lot of the times.
I think that's really well said. And I think when we refer to attachment styles, I think that brings in the understanding of like complex trauma, right? Because there's anxiety, which is like a future scanner. And then we have trauma, which is a past alarm. Okay. And so what happens is that, in dating, if we were traumatized, at some point, and again, complex trauma, which is the relational trauma that happens over time. And the system changes. Like your threshold is like just like a hair trigger. The hippocampus memory part of the brain is like imprecise. It's like, is this now or then? Yeah. And the brain, to compensate, does this like pattern making. It's like, this looks like that. And then it's harder for the prefrontal cortex to break. Okay. And it's so much easier to tire from stress. All this to say that, right, we don't talk enough about how our prior experiences inform our current ones. Yeah. So if you were in a relationship that was, abusive or neglectful, and your needs weren't met, certain things are going to just sort of trigger you more so.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, trauma, we've probably all heard that it gets stored in the body, but it can rewire your brain, right? Like it can actually change your perception of the world, change your perception of yourself. Like I know, and whether it's big T, little t, I think in many ways, trauma is trauma, right? Something that's really difficult and painful for you, that it's almost like this overwhelm of your body's systems to handle what is happening in the moment. So it's like, okay, we're just gonna have to deal with this at some point. Like later, at some point, it's gonna come up. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's why for some people, even a neutral like K, right? Like a text back K can like be so triggering, right? Because it's like, it hits you like a truck. It's like this tiny cue, and it's like our brains are trying to make sense. So it's like, okay, this must be rejection again. And then the alarm, and then survival. And then we cling or withdraw, people please, blah, blah, blah. And I don't mean any of these terms in a derogatory way.
Sure.
Just how we show up. And it makes sense. It's, it's really all about past and how that influences the present, and then safety.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I hope this has been helpful for the Flirty so far. I know it has been for me, just giving some context to these different experiences of overthinking, stress, worry, anxiety, perfectionism, and why we're likely to have these experiences dating, right? There's some real biology behind it, as our brain is doing a lot of the work for us subconsciously that we're just not always aware of. As it's just trying to keep us safe, bring some certainty, some predictability, some sense of normalcy into this process, all the while trying to feel like we're good enough, right? We're worthy. Then we're dealing with that whole piece of
Well,
thing.
I want to get into that too.
Yes.
There's another element. I mean, there's another brain network that we have to talk about. But sorry, I interrupted you.
No, all good. What's this? Let's go into the other. Yeah. What's the other brain network, Jen? What else is happening up there?
There's also what we call the default mode network. And a lot of us have heard this in relationship to age, ADHD possibly, because it's stickier in ADHDers. And that network is the opposite of the task positive network. And that network is our narrator, our inner narrator, our storyteller. It helps us understand who we are, why we are, what we are. And, so once we're in that overthinking loop, and there are multiple loops that can happen, right? So overthinking can take many forms, right? You can ruminate on the past.
Yes.
You can try and predict the future. And then you can go into this like self-criticism spiral.
Yes.
Because all in the name of like, I need to find certainty. So for rumination, it's like, I'm going to go in the past. I'm going to like pull up the old stuff and see where I made a mistake, and I'm going to find the answer. So things can be safer. And for prediction, it's just like, there is no certainty because it's like open-ended and there's no finish line. And then the self-criticism is like, you get some kind of answer. It maps uncertainty onto worth. And that's a painful answer that just deepens the spiral. But anyway, the default mode network, that starts to tell the story of, oh, I'm not worthy. Oh, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And that's, it's
hard.
If the prefrontal cortex is our problem solver, scenario builder, then the DMN, default mode network, is our narrator, identity weaver. And then they collaborate. And then the prefrontal cortex churns out these possibilities. And then the DMN turns them into, what does this mean about me?
Right.
And unfortunately, that often in dating leads to, I'm just not good enough, or pick your core belief.
Yeah, whatever that core belief is. I'm hard to love, or something. Yeah, I'm not good enough. Like, it's never going to happen for me. Like, and you could have more than one, but for me, it's that good enough. It's that quest for enoughness, which you've explored on Flirtations in multiple ways. But it's like, it's hard. None of this is easy. And I want to talk for a moment about the experience of embodiment too, because it's not as if all of this is just happening in our brain. You talked about it a little earlier in the interview, where it could be the shortness of breath, the rapid heartbeat, you get warm, you start sweating, something like that. But it could also be nervous system shutdown. Maybe you start to feel kind of numb or just emotionally withdrawn. And so I want to talk about what is happening in the body as well. When sometimes, right, it's just that classic anxiety versus intuition. And so how we can start to just start to understand what's happening in our bodies as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really good question. We have two modes. And not to be so black and white about it, but we can either go towards the shut up, or that's not even a term, but we can either go to this.
I think I know where you're going. We've got two neurospicy people on the show today.
Exactly. My God. This is like a neurospicy circus. I love it. But I love how you see me and get me. So thank you.
Completely. I see where we're going. I see the vision, Jen. Yes.
Thank you. So basically, in terms of it's felt, and in order to stay safe. It's an alarm. And that alarm shows up very blatantly, like with, like you said, right? Like the sweating, the shallow breath, the tensing.
Like as you're like putting your shoulders kind of up by the ears kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then there's this other kind of way to deal with this alarm, and that is to shut down.
Yeah.
And that's harder to notice.
Yeah.
That numbing is harder to notice. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think some of these somatic practices really start to become helpful for people. But I think numbness disconnects you. Yeah. And it's protective, right? It's a protective mechanism, right? You've been hurt before. And so you're trying to put distance between the hurt and you.
Yeah.
And while that might be, protective, we can't selectively numb.
Okay.
So if we numb the pain, we numb the joy. And we start to kind of live our life in this, like, just, I'm looking for
almost like this emotional flatlining in a sense, where it can be, I don't want to use the term masking here, but a little bit performative. It's kind of putting the smile on your face, going through the motions. It can be even someone you have in your life, or maybe you're that person. Could be a friend, and it seems like everything's okay, but underneath there's it's that disconnection, right? It's the what does my intuition want? What is it telling me? What do I even want to do with my day? What do I like? What goals do I have? What desires do I have? And I've definitely been in that headspace and just in that experience in my career, in my dating life, as well. It's difficult. It's difficult. It's hard to admit to yourself, and it's hard to talk about.
No, and I really respect that you're talking about it. And same, I've been there too. And people think, oh, that sounds lovely. Let me just numb and avoid life. And it's a really, I think that's the misconception, that it's this lovely experience, but it really doesn't feel good. It's like literally like walking through quicksand, and like life just passes you by, and you're disconnected from self and from others. Right. So even it's not exactly the same as hyperfocus at all. So I don't want to make that comparison. It's similar, but people think hyperfocus. Oh, wow, you're so on. And I'm like, it's not comfortable. Like, I haven't peed in 3 hours. Like you said,
it's not, episode, right? It's not amazing because before hitting record, we're recording this about 4 p.m. in the afternoon. I just ate lunch, Jen, right before I remembered, Benjamin, eat something.
Yes. And I'm very glad that you did.
Thank you. I'm so glad I did. I was like, you know what? I need something before we start this interview. Right. Eat.
Exactly.
Have some water.
Exactly. Hydrate. Have some water. Attend to your needs.
Yes. But as you were sharing a moment ago, it's this, if we're in that space of emotional numbness, also it's, we can avoid maybe some of the more uncomfortable emotions, but also the good ones too. We don't always get to have those. And then the flip side of this is, once we start to work on our healing and self-compassion, all that good stuff, it is almost easier to feel numb, maybe to not have a lot of those expectations, those wants, desires, those dreams, the visions, all of that, because then when you start to like letting the goodness in again is hard.
It's very hard for people. And my mind is like overwhelmed because there are so many avenues to take this. But I will say that, like I said before, it's very protective. Yeah. Because it prevents hurt. Yeah. However, we start to close ourselves off to experiences that can be so joyful and so loving and so meaningful. And I think part of why we do this is because we don't want to be disappointed, right? So I see a lot of people, and I've done this myself. Oh my gosh. In my 20s, early 30s, it was easier to be like, I'm disconnected. I don't have to do this. Yeah. so that I wouldn't be disappointed or get hurt. It's almost like, it's almost like saves us. But then you're just like lonely. And
I hear what you're saying, and I relate to a lot of it. And I wonder if this, like what we're talking about, is really kind of at the core, or at least part of the core of what's happening in dating and relationships right now, where there's a lot of us are just in that shutdown mode, overwhelm, burnout, a place of stress, of just feeling let down and disappointed so many times, right? I don't want to get my hopes up again kind of thing. And so we but we still crave connection, right? We still want that emotional vulnerability and the intimacy, like that need, which is biological, doesn't go away. And so how do we seek it out? Maybe we go more into hookup culture. Not saying that's bad or wrong, but it's not in place of more kind of formal relationships, right? Or maybe we find ourselves in drugs. Alcohol. It could be the situationshipy, those kind of casual, non-committal relationships we find ourselves in, where we really desire something more, but maybe this is as good as it gets. This is safer in some ways. Yeah,
exactly. And we're all about safety, right? Our brain is about safety. And again, there's nothing wrong with you. It actually means that your brain, mind, body, brain are working for you. It's just not in an iteration that's going to bring you contentedness and joy. It's not an iteration that gives you what we've evolved to be able to receive. Yeah. It's still just safe. Okay, so I'll just casually hook up. I'm safe. But you said something that just intrigued me, and I want to talk about.
Okay.
I mentioned it before, but what I notice, and a lot of people talk about, is, so I said it before, that once you're stressed, right, once the body carries the load, either from fear or anxiety, like worry, whatever it is, our threshold is lowered. And so literal neutral cues could become like a big question of uncertainty.
Sure.
The reason I'm saying this is because in modern life, I think we show up already dysregulated and already at a stress capacity that is just
it's unsustainable.
Unsustainable. Yeah. And so when we're going already into dating, it's like we're already like braced, like hair trigger. It's like, what did that pause mean? And that's because we are so primed. Our system is so primed already from all the stress, right? We're tired and dysregulated. And so even a small little pause or ambiguous glance just feels like a really big threat.
Yeah.
Which is why regulation is so important.
Definitely. Yeah. And I hope the flirties feel empowered here and are having, an aha moment or two or three about like that thing that seemed so inconsequential early in dating or on a first date or a fifth date. And you're like, why did this bother me so much? Maybe why did I have such a reaction to it? This helps explain, it helps explain why. Yeah.
And I want to destigmatize that, right?
Yeah,
like I think people are so hard on themselves. I mean, we're all hard on ourselves, but especially when it comes to dating.
Yeah.
Right. Because that sense of like belonging is just like this intrinsic like need. Literally, we survived because we were in groups. And so the sense of belonging still that like we needed way back when has continued. The thread is still there it shows up. It's just we're not putting the same words to it, and we're just we're mislabeling it, and people are just being hard on themselves. And so this is my love letter to the flirties, and I want to say your brain is not broken. No. Your brain is doing what it's meant to do. Yeah. We just have to teach it that it's safe and can allow other experiences in.
Belonging is so important. I don't feel like it's I'm glad you mentioned it. I don't feel like it's a word that gets brought up a lot, but it also can partly explain if in dating relationships, if we don't feel like we have close connected friendships or a close relationship with our family, or we feel quote unquote different, this sense of belonging, it's still there, but maybe it plays out. We're kind of hyper focused in our dating lives and our relationships of wanting to be picked, chosen, right? Feeling good enough, feeling worthy, all of that. Something that was coming to mind. And before we conclude the conversation, I want to come back to the term perfectionism for a moment. We've talked a lot about the overthinking, stress, worry, anxiety, but I'm really curious how perfectionism ties into this need for perhaps control. Yeah.
Yeah. So we named overthinking, right, as a branch of worry. And the other common branch of worry is perfectionism. And so if we think of it as this way, overthinking is the loop, right? We replay the past. We try to predict the future. We criticize ourselves in the moment. Perfectionism is the armor. If I do it just right, I won't get hurt or rejected, right? This is where our masks come on. This is think performative, right? Overthinking keeps you in your head, and perfectionism keeps you in this performative loop instead of being yourself.
Okay.
And at its core, perfectionism is anxiety's attempt to control uncertainty by building, like I said, I keep saying this, but I really believe it. It's this armor, right? We narrow in on the present. If I do everything flawlessly right now, maybe I won't be rejected, and maybe I won't be judged, and maybe I will be good enough. And this comes from a deeper belief that you kept alluding to, that if I don't get it right, I'll lose love or belonging. Yeah. And can you imagine that? If I don't get this right, I'll lose belonging. Yeah. I just got the chills because we don't say that enough, how important that belief might be for someone. I mean, of course we're engaged in these tactics, this overthinking and perfectionism. I like to think of myself as a recovering perfectionist.
Oh my gosh. Me too, Jen.
My friends and I text all the time about this. They're it's a practice. It's a practice. But when you think about it in those terms, right? If I don't get it right, I'll lose love or belonging. It's of course I'm going to try to get it right.
Yeah, really all or nothing. You throw in some ADHD, maybe a touch of OCD, and oh my God.
My God. I literally want to come on to talk about ADHD because, I will say, if it's okay, for neurodivergent people, for neurodivergent folks, right? So that could be ADHD and or autism and other neurodivergencies. Yes. OCD is considered that too. Whatever we just explained is amplified. Yes. Times I don't know, I'm not saying this like 100, but I don't know the exact
whatever the number is, it's big.
Whatever the number is, but the whole cycle isn't just louder, it's just stickier. And that's not a weakness, that's wiring, right? Because the prefrontal cortex, doesn't apply the brakes as well. Already it's loaded with the task of executive functions, which are problematic in ADHD.
Yeah.
The default, I'm talking to ADHD right now. The default mode network can be harder to disengage from. So in a neurotypical brain, whatever that means.
Air quotes, whatever that means. Yeah.
Right. If this is the default mode network and this is the task positive network, right? They're supposed to go like this, very... Right. But with ADHD, when the task positive wants to come on, it's the default network is I'm not shutting down. And what we get is this background noise and rumination and stickiness. And then not to mention the dopamine dysregulation.
Yes. As you were just, if for anyone listening, the visual you just had, you're holding two colored blocks in your hand as if these two things, the default mode network and what was the other one again?
The task positive network.
Task positive network, kind of looking to balance each other out. Yeah. In the quote unquote neurotypical, but for the neurodivergent, they're kind of moving a little fast. There's some friction. They're bumping into each other. Exactly. One's up here, one's down here. They're not always speaking the same language.
It's sticky. It doesn't shut off as well when the task positive, right? Now it's time to just silently perform a task and our ruminative, self-reflective narrator is going to shut down. I mean, no, it's not.
Oh my gosh, this has been, somehow we're already at time.
What? No.
I think we've talked about everything, Jen, I think.
I mean, I want to give solutions, but
that's the last piece. We are going to get to the solution. So as we conclude the conversation, rather, some solutions for the flirties. Of course, we got to set them up for success.
I mean, the truth is there is so much more to talk about. And this is like 12 sessions. So thank you for having me. And I know I get passionate and I make long story long. And
I love it.
I'm going to have self-compassion for that. I really just want your listeners to feel held and to feel like this is wiring, like nothing's wrong with me. Like I just want to feel safe. Right. Yes. And like something's happened in my past that made it harder to feel safe now, or, I'm just scanning for threats because that's what my brain does. And since I'm in this stressful world, my threshold is lower, and that makes it much easier to interpret ambiguity and pauses and K.
The K text, yes.
So in terms of solutions, so what could we do? I always like to name the loop.
Okay.
So name it. This is rumination. This is prediction, or this is armor, right? This is self-criticism, or I'm in the what if loop right now. And I think naming something takes away its power.
Yeah, I mean, just the metaphorical, right? Lion, tiger in the woods, in the jungle. Like, I no longer, it's not an unknown. I know what it is.
Exactly. Right? And it gives you this faux control over I know what's going on. I'm ruminating. I know what's going on. Like, I'm putting on the armor, right? It's like, I know what's up. It's awareness. Awareness can't be underestimated. To me, that's number one. Awareness that this is going on. Okay. And then, I would say, externalize some of the thoughts. So journal, voice note, text, brain dump, basically. So brain dump the what ifs before a date, then leave the notebook closed. Just get it out, get it out, get it out, get it out. And then regulate your physiology. That is so important because of everything that we talked about. Slow, longer exhales. Yeah. Feet pressed to the ground. Of course, I just do want to say, slow, longer exhales. Do it as you feel safe, right? I just want to do it so that your body doesn't feel threatened. So if breath work doesn't work for you, try something else. I just wanted to put that caveat in.
That's a good one, yeah.
Feet pressed to the ground. Shake it out, move, maybe a warm mug.
Yes. I do all of this minus the mug in my yoga classes.
Yes,
we definitely focus on the breathing. I focus a lot on grounding, offering a lot of those cues, pressing into the mat, soles of the feet on the mat, heels the toes, all the things, and awareness. Yeah.
And what this will do is, and I have more, more ideas, but I think those three are important. Totally. What that will do, though, what regulation will do is will help us at baseline feel less threatened going into a date.
Okay.
And I think that's really important, where we undervalue how regulating can really help us in all the ways. So it's not just like, oh, I have trauma, so I need to regulate. It's like, no, I'm going on a date and I need to regulate my system so that I can go in. And when someone glances that way, I don't misinterpret it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really important. And then, of course, I love saying to reframe perfectionism, which is such a funny one because it's like, how do you reframe perfectionism? But it's a practice. So just going from how do I get this right to how can I get curious? It's just this little kind of reframe, right?
Yeah.
And then, what I love to tell my clients, I don't tell them what to do. I just, offer guidance and they take it or not, and we talk it through. And I think what softens the dating experience right off the bat is sharing like one small imperfect truth. Like, I'm a little nervous right now. And then actually that retrains the system, our brain, that vulnerability can feel safe.
Yeah. Okay.
So name the loop, externalize the thoughts. So dump, regulate your physiology, reframe perfectionism from how do I get this right to how can I become more curious? And then this micro authentic moment where you share one small thing so that your system can learn that vulnerability isn't a threat. It's actually safe, right? Because we didn't even get to talk about this, but one of the triggers for anxiety and overthinking and perfectionism is vulnerability and being vulnerable, or the other person being vulnerable, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, I'm going over time. And
this was all so good, kind of coming full circle back to the start of the conversation about alignment in many ways. All of this is just going to help you act and just be more in alignment with who you are, what you want, how you want to connect, how you want to flirt, how you want to date. So you don't read into, oh my gosh, they just like pulled out their phone, or, oh, that tone was weird. Oh, why would they ask me that question? Or, oh, this vulnerability feels very uncomfortable. You're just going to be able to be more present, more aware. And then you're just going to be able to be, rather than like in your head, you're thinking, you're in worry, you're in stress mode. It's all a practice. It's all so helpful.
Practice makes practice.
That's right.
But can I say one more thing?
Of course. Yeah.
I really want to say this. It's one of the most simple yet not easy things that I learned in my life. And I'm sure it's not mine. Many have said it, but most people aren't thinking about you. They're thinking
it's true.
about themselves. Not in this, and I'm not even bringing in like ego, narcissism, literally. Like, you're worried going on the date, and the other person is most likely matching your worry, if not more worried. And I think we forget this.
It's true. Yeah, that's a good point. And I was going to say, I always say, come to my yoga classes. And most people cannot, but you can go. I've got some flirt yoga videos on YouTube, which I'm always adding to some mini practices that you can do right in your home, your apartment, wherever. You don't need any experience, no props, nothing like that. So we can do a little bit of yoga, regulate. I can at least help you with that piece.
Please.
And
regulate.
Jen is going to help you with all of the pieces. Where can the flirties find you, follow you, learn more, and if you're accepting new clients?
Yeah, so thank you. Right now, accepting just neuropsych clients and ADHD. Okay. Yeah. I have a book coming out in 2026. Yes. It's not there yet. I have a new website being made. I do have a book called Quick Calm. It's easy meditations to short circuit stress through using mindfulness and neuroscience. So if someone wants that book, but really just reach out on Instagram or Facebook and just say, hey, I listened and this resonated, and I'll give you a little answer back. Obviously, I'm not your therapist, but I just want to be available and continue the conversation and make sure that people know that they're not broken.
Yes.
So at Dr. Jen Wolkin and ADHD with Dr. Jen, and you'll put all the info.
Oh, yeah. I'll have your links in the show notes below for this episode, the socials, your website. Please, flirties, reach out to, follow, connect with Dr. Jen on all the platforms, any platform. Jen, thank you so much for being on the show today. This was just amazing and wonderful to connect and record with you.
Thank you. This was wonderful. I love flirting with you. More soon.
More flirting, Jen. More flirting.
Yes,
All right, Flirties, that's a wrap on this episode of Flirtations, the one about overthinking, stress, perfectionism, worry, and anxiety in dating. Oh my goodness. I hope you enjoyed this conversation just as much as I enjoyed creating it with Dr. Jen Wolkin, our incredible guest for this conversation. Dr. Wolkin, thank you so much. I meant Jen, thank you for this amazing just time. I learned so much from you. Flirties, I got some amazing links in the show notes below for this episode to learn more about Dr. Jen and check out her work. All right. That's going to do it for me here. Yes, Benjamin, the Flirt Coach, and Gay Lieber at Flirt Headquarters. Please rate, review, subscribe to the show. If you haven't already, if you have, thank you so much for supporting the show with a rating, a comment, a review, a share. Yes, it just means so much. And if you haven't rated or subscribed to the show, now's a fantastic time. Go ahead, do that. It only takes like 10 seconds. I promise, 10 seconds. Blink and it's done. It's over. All right. That's going to be, this conversation is over. This episode is over as well. Signing off officially at Flirt Headquarters. My name is Benjamin. I'm the Flirt Coach. Flirty, happy flirting.